Hi, this is Charlie Setterfield. This is a video on creating custom annotations in Revit architecture, or just Revit. And this is the second in a series of videos that I put together which are intended to help you set up your office standards and office templates for Revit projects. And so we're going to start this one by talking about annotations. And so to edit and make a custom annotation, I need to open the family editor for that particular annotation and start from there. So first move is to go to the purple R, the program button, click that to get the drop down, slide down to open, and then we're going to open a Revit family. So I slide over to family and I go ahead and I click on family. And that takes me to the US Imperial Library. And this is a good point to talk about where we're going to save this thing once we rename it. So remember, our convention here is that we've got annotations that were created by Autodesk and put into the standard out-of-the-box configuration for Revit. We're going to take that as a starting point and make our own, which match our office standards. So I need to go to annotations first, double-click on that folder to open it. And I'm going to start with a section head. So I scroll down through my annotation list there, and I get to section head, and the one that they use in Revit most often, I believe, is this one, which is section head filled. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the open button there. So that's going to launch the family editor, and it's going to display that section head for me. So the first thing that I want to do to prevent problems is to save this into my Office Standards folder with an office specific name. So to do that, I'm going to navigate up here and again press the purple R button, and I'm going to do this time a save as, and I'm going to save this as a family. Project is grayed out, template and things that I can't use are grayed out. So I click on family because it started as a family and I want to continue to use it as a family. So I click on family, and now it defaults to put me back into the folder that I'm already in, which is annotations. And I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to instead put it into my documents, and down here I've created a folder called Revit Office Standards. So I'm going to open that folder, and I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm just going to add my name to the beginning of it so that I know that this is the one that I created. Instead of using your name, you might want to use your office name, or maybe your office name and a year, so that you can keep track of things. And we'll hit the save button. And so now I can tell by the header up here where it says Charlie section head, I can tell that that's the one that I just created. So the next thing to think about there is, why did we put it in a separate folder? Well, if you update your Revit software every year, like Autodesk would like for you to, then there's a good chance that you're going to overwrite some of those library folders as you're doing those updates from year to year. And if your office standards are saved in those folders, you might lose those. So I recommend that you save your office standards into a separate location so that you've always got them and you can use those on an ongoing basis. So before we start editing this section head, I want to look at a couple of things that are going on here already so that we don't mess them up as we make our changes. The biggest thing is that these guys, where we've got callouts for where the section was drawn, and then a callout that says where on the sheet or which drawing number on the sheet this is, those are actually labels. Those aren't something that you're going to edit just by changing the number. Let's take a look at what I mean. So that number 1 there is actually a label, and if I want to edit that label, I click this edit button over here in my properties dialog, and you can see that it's pulling the detail number, and the sample value is 1. So the one that we're seeing here in our family editor is just a sample number. It could be anything. I can change this to 5 or whatever. Turn my keyboard on. There we go. Change that to a 5 and say OK, and that changed it. That has nothing to do with how the thing is going to work. That's simply a number that's in there as a placeholder. So be careful not to delete labels because they're already set up to work in a particular way. Okay, so now we're ready to edit this annotation. And so I'm going to go in and just do a couple of goofy things to it. I'm going to take this as an opportunity to play around with some drawing tools just to show you a couple of things. So let's say that your office has a standard where instead of just showing the triangle here, we're going to show a square instead. So I'm going to draw the rest of this square here, and so I'm looking for an organized way to do that. So what I'm going to do is go to the Home tab, and I'm looking for the point here. I need to draw from this corner down here and then back up to this corner. Well, to get that point where I need to turn 90 degrees, I'm going to put in a reference line that starts here in this upper point and comes straight down for a while. And I'm going to click Escape to get out of that command. And so now I've got this green reference line that will let me find my geometry. So now I go back to the Home tab, and I'm going to draw a line that goes from there to there, and it intersects my circle that's already there, and then back up to this one. So 3 clicks and I'm done, and I have a square. Now I can go back, click Escape a couple of times to get out of that place line command, and I'm going to delete that line that I had put in just as a guide. And so let's say that you want to fill the bottom half of this square with some other pattern or some other gradient or something like that to make it stand out. So what I need to do is make a filled region. See this little guy right there? See that blue that popped up? That's a filled region, and that's how it becomes solid black. So what I can do is use the line that I just drew along with the lines that are already existing to make more filled regions. So I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is go to the Home tab and click on Filled Region. And so I've got this drawing tool here called Pick Lines, and I need to do these kind of one at a time so that I make sure that I'm not doing multiple areas. So anyway, so Pick Lines, I'm going to pick on that one, which is the circle that's already there, or the semicircle, the line that I just did, and that existing bottom line on that triangle. Now it's not going to like me. If I make this a filled region by itself, it's not going to like me because I've got lines that are all over the place here. So I need to do some trimming here. So I'm going to go get this Trim Extend tool that's in my Modify pane. I'm going to click on the curve that I picked and this line, and now I've got a nice enclosed area, that kind of goofy triangle that's defined by those 3 lines. And so now I need to pick a fill that's going to go in there. So I need to go to this Edit Type button. And so what's going to happen if I just go ahead and make this filled region the way it is right now, is going to come in as solid filled, and it's going to look just like this black region that's above it. And that's not what I want. So I'm going to make a duplicate, and I'm going to call this Office Fill, and say OK. And so now I've got a different type of fill here. And so now I can go in and change that from a solid, maybe I want to click on something else here. Let's make a, I don't know, crosshatch. And say OK, and OK. And now I can finish this region. And my crosshatch is in there, you can see it, but the scale of it is really big, so it's not going to show up really well. So I'm going to actually click on that and go back to edit that and edit type, and my crosshatch, I'm going to change that to a solid fill, say OK. Then I'm going to change the color. Maybe that's a way that I can differentiate here. So I'm going to make it red and say OK and say finish. So now I have to repeat that on the next 2 areas here. So another filled region. So I go back to Home, Filled Region, pick lines, pick the semicircle, this line, that line, do some trimming from that to that, that to that. That gets me this goofy triangle down here at the bottom. I go in and I click Edit Type, and it's already set up to be the Office Fill. I say OK, and OK, and now I've got a red fill there. We can do the same thing over here. So Home tab, Filled region, pick lines, that one, that one, that one, trim that to that. It's set up for office fill, which means it's going to be red, so I don't have to go in and edit my type. So I click OK, boom, there you go. So I have created this custom annotation. So we're going to stop this video and we'll have a part 2 for annotations, and I'll show you how to get this section head into your project, your template, and apply it to your sections.